probably return something here since this is a log. So everything's okay, we're just going to return true. I think this does return, but I'll put the break there just in case. I can return this actually. We'll see if it likes that. And I'm just going to pass on all my parameters to the default window procedure, which will handle them how it sees fit. Just in case. Okay, so this should compile and run as a C program now. It's not going to do very much interesting, but should at least give us a window and give us some buttons so we can see how everything looks, and then adjust as appropriate. So let's see, let's make a new folder for this. Go to Alright, so we got our C file, but we're not done yet. We're not done yet because we have to create a few other files. So we will need a make file, we will need our header file, and we will need a definition file. We'll do the resource file later when we make our icon. Okay, so let's do the header file first. Actually, all we need to do here is make our function parameters, our function prototypes, that is. So our main procedure, and our callback procedure. Okay, that'll do it for that. Force us to false in the Windows directory. Just make sure that's what I called it when I put it in here. I did. Okay, so right there. So we also need a definition file. Actually, should be done with that. So for the definition file, this gives the compiler some idea of what kind of a program we're writing. Since it's a Windows program, the compiler needs some extra information to tell it that and to act accordingly. So we're going to program a name, a description, I think some of this information ends up in the header of the executable file. This is a Windows executable. think this tells it what base. I think this WinSub.exe is like the most basic, simplest possible Windows program, and that's a stub. So I think it looks to this WinSub.exe and then builds the program on top of it. I'm not 100% sure of that, but I think that's what it does. And we'll just tell it what kind of code we have. So this preload movable, I think this movable means that we're telling Windows that it's okay to relocate our code in memory. We don't care where our code ends up in memory when it's running. Our program is not affected by that. I guess if you are some kind of program that is dependent on where it is in memory, you can tell Windows that and it'll put it where you tell it to. But we don't have that problem. And the same with the code. This one. Heap size, who really cares? We shouldn't be using much of the heap. Because if you have a problem with your program crashing, stack overflows or something, you can tell Windows to give you more heap. Should probably be sufficient. I don't think it's that critical, really. I mean, I guess if you have issues with stack overflows and whatever, you can play with those parameters, but for our purposes. And then these exports are functions that we want to make visible to outside calling programs. So we want to make our Windows callback function visible to calling procedures so that Windows can call us back. And we want to make our, actually that's all we have to do in this case because that's the only thing that we need to make visible. Okay, so we have our main routine obviously is visible, and we want to make this one visible as well so that Windows can call us back. So let's just save this. Save directory. And this is a definition file, so that has the extension .def. And we should be done with this, or anything horrendous. Okay, so now we need our make file. I have not looked into what all these parameters mean. I just borrowed these from the Windows documentation. And later here we'll add our resource file when we make one. We make our icon and everything. Windows library. And we'll also have to add a line there later when we make our resource. And actually that should probably be about it for now. Hopefully this will work appropriately. I don't think we would have to use the ResourceCompiler since we have no resources right now. Alright, so let's see if this will work. Okay. Okay, so of course this is the version of, you see there's a different one. Yeah, file. Yeah. There we go. Okay, let's see if this works. Of course it doesn't. Because I can't type. Okay. Alright. Executable is there, let's see if it runs. So there's a refresh option here. Okay. So I'm thinking that what happened here is because we don't have a resource file, we did not run the resource linker and therefore did not produce a correct executable. So, real quick, we'll just go and create a resource file, which actually won't really have any resources in it. But just for fun, we'll make it. See if that makes any difference. Because ideally, you would almost always have a resource file. You're almost always going to have some kind of resources. Let's leave this empty for now. See what happens. We don't have any resources yet. But just for fun, I would like to try. Okay, so let's go back to our main file. Workout was a program that I wrote previously in Windows, so I'm kind of using that as a reference as I go through this video, since I actually haven't done this in quite a while. I thought it would be interesting to make a video about about Windows programming. So. So, I name them file log. I have an RC extension, so I'll have to double check that actually use the correct extension. Okay. So this RC is the resource compiler. So calc.rc should be our resource script, and calc.res should be our compiled resource item. So did I name this correctly? I named it. It's missing. Maybe they must have saved it. I wasn't supposed to save this. Let's just try putting something actually in the resource file. Unfortunately, in order to do that, we need to make an icon. So do I have my icon editor on here? Font editor. We'll fix this up later once we get this one. Right, so then we have to go back and edit the resource file. so that'll define the icon we just created as an icon, the resource. Okay, so I went back and looked at my program I've written previously, and I think this may be what I have missed. I forgot to allocate data for my class structure that I wanted to register. So let's go back to our program and try and actually creating some data space to store that in. That's probably why it crashed immediately too, because I did remember to put the local free statement in, so it was freeing data that had never been allocated in the first place. Should be all of that. Okay, so I found another one of my issues. I forgot to compile in the resource file. So just put that in here. So I added it down there and then forgot to add it up here. So that will be one thing. Just get rid of my little debug I put in there for testing. And see what happens now. Okay, so now the resource compiler compiled the resource into the executable. Okay, well that's some progress because now it's not telling me it's a old executable anymore. We still have an unrecoverable application there, but at least that's something. Oops, Windows crashed.